on Wednesday, July 29th, 2020 at 4 p.m. Could we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Miles,
Here.
Board Member Boone,
Here.
Board Member Borker,
Here.
Board Member Ellico,
Here. Sorry, it wasn't unmuting.
that's okay, and Board Member Gilbert.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. As we all realize, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being held electronically. And so the first order.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. The first order of business will be the approval of minutes. These are the meeting minutes of October 22nd, 2019. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
I have.
Okay, good, thank you. Then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes, October 22nd, 2019.
A motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve minutes. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries unanimously. Next order of business is an appointment, and this will be the appointment of firefighter Jeff Gilbert to the Psprs Fire Board. And I think that, Annie, I know you reached out to see if Board Member Gilbert would like to read for the board his oath of office.
Yes, I did, Mayor. If we want to go ahead and see if we get a motion to accept his willingness to serve, then we'll move on, and he is prepared to read his oath.
Excellent. Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to appoint firefighter Jeff Gilbert to the Psprs board.
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Jeff Gilbert, firefighter Jeff Gilbert, to the Psprs Fire Board. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Welcome to the board. Now I think it would probably be appropriate to read the oath if you would like to.
Okay, I, Jeffrey Gilbert, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of Psprs board member according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And as I said, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3, which is fire personnel, and to acknowledge Brandon Medlin's entrance into the drop program. Annie, I don't think we need a motion to acknowledge. Is this just a acknowledgement of the board?
So we do have to actually have a motion and an official acknowledgement
Okay.
for the Psprs.
Okay, then let's do that. I would entertain a motion to acknowledge Brandon Medlin's entrance into the drop program.
I'll motion that Brandon Medlin is entered into the drop.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to acknowledge Brandon Medlin's entrance into the drop program. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Next order of business, call to the public. Visitors are provided time to make statements to the board. Those wishing to do so, please notify the Psprs secretary, and these comments should be limited to no more than 5 minutes. And please keep in mind that the board cannot take action on comments, questions, or concerns at this time. And since in-person attendance is suspended for this meeting, we are holding it through technological means, and public comments were to have been submitted in writing to the city clerk's office by 9 o'clock on July 29th, 2020. All comments will be shared with the board and made a part of the public record. Members of the public can watch or listen to the meeting live via Channel 4 or on YouTube at youtube.com/City of Kingman. Annie, do we have any public comments?
We did not receive any public comments.
Okay, thank you. Then let's move on to announcements. And this is limited to announcements, availability and attendance at conferences and seminars. And it looks like item A, we're going to have a report on the annual Psprs conference.
So Mayor
The
Miles,
Director, yes.
myself and board member Ellico and our finance director Tina had the opportunity to attend this conference. So I didn't know if anyone had anything that they wanted to share, then we could share that with the rest of the board.
Well, I think that we recently received the actuarial tables. Is that correct?
That will be item 7.
Is that right? See, this is why I print out. There it is. That's going to be that report. Okay, good. Then we'll handle it under that. Are there any other comments on that conference?
Sorry, I would like to say that the conference was really informative, and it would be a really good educational opportunity for any member of the board who could attend. They have specific trainings for what the local board duties are and what the responsibilities are, as well as some helps to make sure that we are following the legal requirements of the board. So it was a good conference.
Thank you. When is the next conference? Do we know?
They have not released any information on an upcoming conference.
Well, when we do have that information, and it'll probably be a virtual conference if things are still going that way, we'll get that information and make plans to attend.
So, Mayor, I was also able to attend, and the one thing that I wanted to note that board member Ellico didn't is there was quite a bit of legislation that had been introduced that pertained to PSPRS. And I have not received a report from the league or from PSPRS on if any of those bills made it through since the session was cut so short. But I will follow up on that and let you guys know at our next meeting.
Thank you. And I guess I would make the announcement that specific to legislation, that we as the City of Kingman approach the league to garner support for the capability to go to the voters with a fire district, and it would require an amendment to existing legislation that would allow the city to continue operating the fire department within a district. And this could help us because it would basically allow the voters to implement a secondary property tax to help support public safety expenses. But that did not get the support this year of the league, so it has not gone any further. And I'm at this point not sure if we'll be taking that again next year, but if we do, we're going to have to garner more support from other cities first, because I think that's going to be critical to getting it to have a fair hearing. So that's kind of my announcement. Are any questions or comments? Hearing none, then we have no old business, so we'll move to new business and turn it over to Director Moline, who will give the PSPRS actuarial report.
There we go. So there we go. Good afternoon, Mayor, and good afternoon, board members. So I was actually invited to share the basics of the Kingman Fire Department Actuarial Valuation Report. This is a report that Psprs issues on an annual basis to every single plan within the public safety personnel retirement system, of which there are hundreds. So the fire department is only one of those. And so I wanted to share just a very high level overview of what this report does for us, what the contents that it provides, and really the purpose of it. Next slide, Annie. Can I just do it?
You can't do it because I'm sharing.
Okay,
Do you want me to stop sharing and you can share?
sure.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, do we see it? Do you see it, Annie?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, the purpose of the report, I refer to it as really a financial health assessment tool. And that's because the report determines whether the plan's assets, so all of the contributions and investment earnings over the last many years, and the current contributions are sufficient enough to meet those future benefits of our retirees. And and then also it's used to develop that funding mechanism or that funding requirement in order to meet those future needs. So the report is about 40 pages long. There's a lot of material in it and a lot of data, but really what we refer to it for are 5 major contents. One of those, like I stated, is the financial health of the plan. And so we look at the assets, we look at our future liability, which are all of those future benefits that we are required to provide to our members, and then say, okay, are we deficient? Do we need to increase our funding to make sure that we can meet those benefits in the future? We also look at it for contribution rates. So based on what we call that unfunded piece, what that looks like, our contribution rates as an employer will change. The employees' rates don't typically change. It's the employer's rates that are changed year over year. We also look at what are the reasons behind that change. This report provides all of those reasons as well. So investment earnings, are there changes in the demographics? It also provides a summary of the plan, so eligibility, benefits, COLAs, and then of course it provides our member statistics for that current plan year. So what are our member statistics? So for the June 30th, 2019 report, we have 83 members in the plan. And of those members, we have 47 that are currently working or what we consider active employees. We have 31 retirees, 3 beneficiaries, and 2 vested. Those vested members are members who worked for the fire department at some point, but are no longer in the system, and but earned enough years of service to have some sort of benefit in the future. So they are vested in the system. We have the average age of those types of members, and then we also have what their average benefit is. So what is the financial health of the June 30th, 2019 plan for the fire department? Well, we have an unfunded liability of over $16 million. And so what that means is that at some point in the future, which state legislation has actually stated that by June of 2036, cities and towns are required to pay that unfunded liability down. So we need to pay down over $16 million of that future benefit to our retirees. What is the cost? What are our contributions on so we as the city, what are our contributions on those fire department salaries into the plan? We will pay just over $2.1 million based on the 2019 data. And so we also look at the funded ratio. So basically, how much have we funded into the system? That's 52.6%. And so we are unfunded, that's 16.1 million, just under 50%. I did want to just point out quickly to share the difference of what the employer contributes to the plan versus what the employee contributes to the plan. So for this particular plan year, the city will be contributing between 56 and 62% of our fire department salaries into the plan, and our employees in the fire department will contribute anywhere between 7.65% and just about 13%. So I wanted to point out the timing of the valuation of the report versus when we actually begin making contributions to the system based on that report. So that report that we receive is based on June 30th, 2019 data. We don't actually get that report until late in fiscal year 20, which is in around January and February is when we typically receive that. So the contribution rates that are calculated are not put into place until the following fiscal year. So it's really about 1.5 to 2 years of outdated data because we've already got fiscal year 20's demographics and assumptions and actual experience that have taken place that aren't taken into account in the plan and in the contribution rate. So it is a little bit of a challenge to know where we currently stand, but as of June 30th, 2019, that's where we are. As I mentioned earlier, that $16 million unfunded liability that we as a city are required to pay, the city council and the mayor was a very big part of this. Thank you very much, Mayor. The city council made it a priority to pay that unfunded liability down in full by 2036. So we will be 100% funded by then, if not before then. And that's really all I wanted to share, just to give you a general idea of what the report contains.
Thank you so much, Director Mullane. Are there any questions or comments regarding this report?
I have a quick question just for some clarification. And thank you for the report. I appreciate your time. But just when the members ask me, what does unfunded liability mean? And I'm still a little confused on that as well. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that? So when I look at I know that our unfunded ratio is really good compared to other organizations throughout the state, that a 50% ratio is supposed to be really healthy compared to some of the other departments that are around the state of Arizona. But unfunded liability, can you talk to me a little bit more about what that actually means?
So I certainly can. Thank you for that question, Board Member Borker. So first, I want to give a little bit of clarification on maybe what you think as far as 50% being a really great ratio for unfunded. Although that is maybe an average for the state, it is not healthy whatsoever. We are all, many of us across the state are in I don't want to say dire straits, but where we owe millions and millions of dollars and are struggling to get that paid off by 2036. We actually have some cities who are 100% fully funded. So I want to make sure that although we are average or maybe a little above average for the state, it's still not a healthy position to be in. But that unfunded liability really it's generated based on all of our historic contributions to the system. And the Psprs system then invests those monies, and they put all sorts of assumptions together whenever they're calculating those future benefits and what they think the system's monies are going to generate in investments or how payrolls are going to increase. And that unfunded liability is the difference between what we actually contribute to the system versus what that future projected benefit actually is.
So essentially that we're just covering all of our members that are in the system right now, and to have the money there to keep paying their benefits as time goes on. Is that correct? Is that?
Mm-hmm. And any of the future benefits. So to also take into account when you retire or when others retire, it takes into account all of our benefits that are projected.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
I am curious. You say that some departments are 100% funded and others aren't. How do a department of our size compare to those departments that have better funding with it? Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, absolutely. So, in their defense, they are newer departments, and so the liability hasn't had a chance to grow over the years, which is why they have been able to get to maintain or, I guess sustain the contributions versus the future benefits. But we are an older department, and so a lot of the older departments are the ones that have the larger unfunded liability and not such a healthy ratio.
Okay, thank you.
And
You're
Director
welcome.
Mullane, my understanding is that there have been legislative changes over the years that have really changed the equation, if you will, for these projections. And so that's another reason that we find ourselves in a situation where we have a greater unfunded liability than I think anyone predicted over earlier years.
You're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, in 2014, our contribution rate as an employer was about 25%, and you see it's more than doubled over the last 6 to 7 years. And part of that, you're exactly right, Mayor, is due to legislation and assumption changes. Part of that is also due to the Parker Hall lawsuit that took place. And another piece of that has to do with the Great Recession's investment earnings, or really lack thereof. So we're paying for that now.
And Director Mullane, you want to speak to the decision that the council made regarding the change to our 40% versus 50%, and using that anything above 40 to get to give to this unfunded liability?
Yes, absolutely. So currently the city's fund balance policy is that we would maintain 50%, and this was adopted by the council years ago, that we would maintain 50% of our operating expenditures and transfers in fund balance, at 25 to 50%. And we have maintained 50% over the last couple of years, but the council felt it very important to begin paying this down. And so they have unofficially amended that policy to maintain 40% reserves so that we can pay down the unfunded liability with that difference. Which in some years is, well, last year we were able to contribute over $3 million. So that was very helpful.
This year may be different because of the pandemic and reduced revenues. So we'll have to see how it goes. But the expectation is that by 2036, we will have paid off or caught up and be 100% funded in the system.
That's right. Thank you.
May I ask one more question?
Certainly, go ahead.
On the percentages that the employee pays, just to confirm, versus what the employer pays, when you're talking the 13% or the 50%, that's the gross pay percentage. So say, for example, if an employee every 2 weeks takes home $500, the city's going to pay 51% on $500 into the fund. Is that correct?
It's of your gross pay, not your net pay. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Any comments? Thank you so much for giving that report, Director Mullane. I think this is one of the most important areas that the city has to deal with, and even despite a pandemic, we can't lose our focus on keeping our budget intact and also continuing to meet our obligations. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So now the next order of business would be future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items that any board member would like to include at the next meeting? Annie, is there any order of business that normally comes in the fall meeting? Or
I will reach out to HR
on the
and
agenda?
to Chief to see if there are any additional new hires that need to be acknowledged.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that if one agenda item comes to your mind that you'd like on it, please let us know. Let our city clerk know. Okay. Now I will find my agenda again, sorry. And, the next order of business is adjournment. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed, nay? I don't think so. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.